you guys. Today we are painting BB8. Ta-da! So the colors that you need for today's painting are red if you don't have orange, orange, yellow, blue, white, black, and brown. So I will guide you how to make orange if you don't already know how to make it. Also, we have our big flat brush, I guess medium size, and our teeny tiny detail brush. I will guide you which ones to use when. So hopefully you have a cup of water and a paper towel to clean your brushes when you're going from one color to the next. And that's it. So teeny tiny brush, we're going to make a tan color to sketch out our BB8. So we're going to just mix a little bit of brown and a little bit of white. So I'm going to take my little brush, I'm going to take some white and a little bit of brown. So whenever you're mixing colors, you never want to use all of one color and all of the other color to mix together. So for example, right now I'm not using all my white and all my brown. I'm only going to take a little bit and put it on my palette and just mix what I need. If I need more, I could always make more, and that way you have extra when you need it. All right, so we have our light tan. It's pretty light, okay? And now we are going to go over to the left side of our canvas. You're going to come to the very middle of the left side, and you're going to make a little mark, just like that. Hard to see, little mark. About halfway. So then what you're going to do is on the bottom left, I'm going to come in a quarter of the way. So that's half of a half. And I'm going to make another little mark. So my halfway is about there. So boom. So I have a mark right here at a quarter of the way in from the left. And then halfway mark on the left side of my canvas. So 2 marks. All right, so we have our halfway and quarter of the way. And now we're going to connect these dots with a nice big circle. So this is why we're using a light tan. This is not easy to do. So I'm going to start here at this top left side, and I'm going to start curving around. And I don't want to go further than about a quarter of the way in. So I'm going to curve our way around, curve, 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 and I'm going to connect it to my dot. So don't worry if you gotta do it a couple times to get it to where you're happy with it. That's why we're just sketching it out with our tan. It's not easy doing a circle, that is for sure. So this guy's like peeking out. So now we're gonna move on to his head portion. So if you kind of go like this, so you put your canvas kind of on a corner like that, hold it with the other hand. You want to find the middle of your circle that you just created. So I'm going to make a little mark where that middle is. Just a little mark. From there, I'm going to go up just about, not even an inch, a little bit less than an inch. And I'm going to start to make a line that's going to be going across my body, my circle body, but it's not going to go further than the circle. So it's not going to be quite as big, but it's going to be at a slight diagonal like that. So that way when I go down, boop, it's like that. So we put it on its side, so we kind of knew where the middle was. And then we're able to put in the head. So again, don't stress out if it's a little bigger, a little smaller, we're just sketching out. So something else too to keep in mind, if you make a little whoops, you could always erase it with a little piece of paper towel, dip it in the water, squeeze it out so it's damp, and just kind of erase. So that's also there too for you. So we should have our round body, the base of the head. Okay, so from there, we're going to connect the head to the body with a diagonal line. So I'm going to go to the end of the line on the left, this top part. I'm going to do a diagonal, bring it right down towards the body, just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. Bring her down. So we got 1, 2. We attached it. So we just put in our diagonal line. We connected it to our circle body. Now we got to do the round part of the head. So this is just an upside down U. You don't want to go too much further than halfway into your canvas, but again, up to you if you want to give them a really big head. That's cool. We don't judge. So I'm going to start here at one end, and I'm going to curve around. Where is my halfway? Right about there. Okay. I'm going to make mine too big. Let's see. Here we go. Round. See, so I'm not concerned. I'm just kind of sketching it out. All right, so we're going to clean our brush, stick it in the water, let it hang out for a little bit. And we're going to go to our bigger brush, and now we're going to fill inside our BB-8 white. So I'm going to fill all this section in, all this section in, and all this section in. So this is the time where you're kind of fixing all those little marks that we made to try to put the shape in. So I'm going to my bigger brush, and I'm just filling in my BB-8. So this is just going to be the base of our guy. We're going to add different stuff on, of course. All of his little buttons and such. BB-8. So see, I'm just kind of covering up all my little whoopses. So you don't even see it. No one even knows. All right, so now we're gonna go to our teeny tiny brush. We're gonna take your big brush, stick it in the water, let it hang out there for now. We're gonna go to our teeny tiny brush and we're going to make our sky color. So it's gonna be a light blue. So a little bit of blue and a little bit of white. And then we're gonna go to the right side of our canvas, and then right halfway on the right side, I'm gonna make a little mark. Little mark right over here, halfway up. About, right? It's going to be where our mountains are going to start. All right, so we're going to go back to our BB-8's head, right kind of along where our blue dot is, right? So I'm going to bring it over with my finger right about here. And here I'm going to start putting in the shape of my mountains. So they're just really going up and down in a zigzag. You could do some big ones and small ones. So, for example, I'm going to start right here and I'm going to do a little guy. So up, down, so up to the right diagonal, down a diagonal. Then I'm going to go bigger one and go down. And then I could do a smaller guy and go down. I'm going to do that all the way across till I reach my little dot over there. So just do as many as you want, as big or as small. There's really no right or wrong. They're just mountains. So we just did a lot of connected V's, right? So we did some small ones and big ones. Then you're going to connect all the way over here. So I'm saying, oh, it's going to be about this high. Come on over here to this side of the face on the left side. And then I'm going to continue on with my mountain range, going up and down, however many you want to do to the end of my canvas. All right, so we just put in our mountain range outline with our light blue. So when you're done putting in your outline, and that's the easy part, then we're just gonna fill in this whole area above it with our light blue. So I'm gonna still use my little brush to get in these little teeny areas, and then I'm gonna go back with my bigger one and just fill in the whole sky. So light blue. And the cool thing about the sky is that it doesn't have to match exactly all the way through. So let's say you have to make more light blue and it's not matching exactly, just kind of blend it into each other and it's gonna make it look kind of like clouds and it's gonna be cool. It's very forgiving that way. So I'm just getting in the little areas and by my BB-8's head, and then I'm gonna go to my big brush. And big brush, and fill in the whole sky. Filling in the sky. Okay. All right, so we're gonna make a sand color with our little brush. It's just like making the tan before where we did white and brown, but I like to add a little bit of yellow just to warm it up a bit. So it's just not so bland. So a little brush, white, brown, and a little bit of yellow. So now I'm gonna start a third of the way up from the right side. So if you wanna cut it in threes, 1, 2, 3, so about a third, I'm gonna make a little mark. And I'm gonna bring that straight across, as straight as I can, right? Not gonna be exact. Straightish. And then from that line down, we're going to fill it in with our sand color. So now I'm going to go back to my big brush and fill in this whole bottom section with our sand color. And if it's not mixed in perfectly, that's actually a good thing. If you see different tones going on, this guy's out in the middle of nowhere, the different tones in the sand, it's fine. All right, so now we're gonna make the color for our mountains. So all we're going to do is add some orange to our sand color. So if you don't have orange, just add some red. So you're gonna add some red and yellow to the sand color till it's like this. Kind of like a, I don't know what color you would call this thing. It's more orangey. And then I'm just gonna fill in all of my mountains. So see, it's a little bit more of a kind of clay color. It's like clay. Now, as I'm filling in my mountains, where I go to the sky, that sky part where it meets my mountain outline, I'm going to go a little bit higher than my outline. Then I'm going to cover it right up with that mountain color. So it makes it a nice clean line. So I'll bring this one closer so you guys can see up close. Here, see this little guy right here? I'm going to go higher. So I'm going to go right into my blue and cover it up. Oop. So it just kind of cleans it up. And a little guy over here in the corner. But this is just the base color of our mountain. We'll go back and add some highlights to it. So you should definitely see a distinction between the color of your mountains and the color of your sand. Don't forget these guys over here just peeking out. So we're going to go back to our BB-8, and now we're going to start putting in the details. So we're going to go to our teeny tiny brush, our little guy, and you're going to go to orange. So if you don't have orange, again, just make the orange with some red and some yellow. So little brush and orange. So we're going to first start with the orange in BB-8's head. All right, so at the top of his head, you're going to go over just a little bit, just where it starts to kind of curve down. And I'm going to make a little mark there. And then the same thing on the right, make another little mark. And again, it's not exact. If yours is a little bigger, a little smaller, it's all good. And then I'm just going to connect these two dots with just a slight smiley face. It's not going to be really obvious as of yet. So a little scoop. Little scoop. All right, then we're going to have to decide how thick do we want this stripe. Okay, so it really depends on how big your canvas is that you are painting on, right? So I got a big guy, so mine's going to be about an inch. But you want yours to be decently thick, but not too crazy. So it's always good to start a little smaller than you think, because you could always make it thicker. It's harder to take away, right? So I'm just going to go a little bit further down, and I'm going to start my curve going parallel to what I just did. So my parallel scoop. This one's going to go just slightly deeper just because I'm trying to show that it's a circular object. So we got our guy right here, a little parallel to our first guy, and then you're going to go back and fill it in. We just put in his little stripe, so just right where it started to turn, we made our little dot, scooped it over. And when I do details, I always like to kind of lean my pinky on the canvas just to give me some stability, because it is tough if I was just going like this. So it helps me be a little bit more stable. Okay, so once you're done putting in your first orange stripe on the top of its head, then we're going to come to the very middle of this line that we put in, right? Remember we made our little mark first, so right here in the middle of our line, I'm going to go up just a little bit into my head, just a smidge, and I'm going to do my little circle, just a little guy right there. Just a little circle, not very big. Okay, then I'm going to go to this left side or above that circle along this line. I'm going to come in just a little bit from the top of his head right here, this little left side, and I'm going to make a line going right into the head. So it's going to be about an inch long for me, but maybe for you it's a little bit shorter depending on the size of your canvas. So it's not going to be much higher than where you put your dot. Okay, then I'm going to go back to my dot and I'm going to come up along this line and I'm going to give it about 2 inches, inch and a half or so to 2 inches, and I'm going to make a parallel line to that first one. So you want to just give it some space. That's the main thing. You want just a little bit of space, and then I'm going to connect them with a line at the top. So just to repeat, we did a little line going in about the same height as our circle, and we left a space between that line and the outside of his head. Then we came in, and the other side of this chunk of orange is going to be about an inch and a half or 2 from your dot. Just kind of depends on your size. So now I'm going to go ahead and fill in this rectangle. So we're filling in with orange. I'm still keeping with my little brush. So we just put our rectangle right over here to the left of our circle. And now we're going to follow it down to this bottom side of his head, right? So now I'm going to come in just a little bit, like we have a little space with this guy. I'm going to leave about the same amount of space down here. And I'm going to do another dash going in the same height as that first rectangle that we just put in. So another little dash. And this time it's just going to be a square. It's not going to be a long rectangle. So a square just means you have all equal sides, right? So we're going to try to make all of our sides, the top and the bottom, and both sides the same amount, best you can. No one's going to be measuring, but about. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill this guy in. This is starting to come along. All right, so now we're going to go to his body and add the orange to his body. So we are going to start just a little bit to the left of where our head meets the body. I'm going to make a little dot, just a little to the left. From there, I'm going to make a little dot on the left side, and I'm going to go down maybe about a quarter of the way down into my body. So if you broke your robot into half and then half of that, right about there, I'll make my little dot. And then I'm going to do my little smiley face curve to connect them. So this is going to be a nice big smiley face. It's going to be a little deeper than this guy. You want to really emphasize that this thing is round. Nice big scoop. So now we're going to thicken it up just like how we did this one on the top. So it's going to be about the same thickness. You could go a little thicker if you want since it's on the body. So I'm just going to go follow the line of my circle, decide how thick I want, and then I'm just going to go parallel to what I just did with my orange. So remember, you could always make it thicker. It's harder to go thinner. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill it in. All right, so now I need to do the little scoop the orange on the bottom part of his body. So halfway between where you connected his head and the bottom of his body right over here, I'm going to make a little dot. That's where I'm going to start my little curve. Okay, so it's halfway between where the head met the body and the bottom of the canvas. Then I'm going to move down to the bottom left, and right in the middle of the bottom left, I'm going to make another dot. And then we're going to connect them again with a curve. So this is going to be more of like a little frowny face. And now we're just going to thicken it up. So depending how thick you want, try to make it about the same as this first one you did over here. Now we got to do these little squares that are poking up on the sides. So we're going to go back to this top scoop right here, this little smiley face, and I'm going to start about a quarter of the way in. So if you cut it in half, right over here, I'm going to start making just a little square poking out. Okay, and the square is kind of leaning because it's a circle. And do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to come in, this one is going to only be just a smidgen. It's not going to be as far in, and about the same size. So I'll repeat that again. This guy came in, it's a little square, and it came in about a quarter of the way in from where we started up here on the top. And then this guy just came in just a little bit, and we added another square. All right, now we got to do the same thing on the bottom. So this guy that's going to go towards the outside, it's not going to come in here, it's going to go towards the outside. I'm coming in just a quarter of the way. I'm going to make another little square coming out. And then the other guy is just kind of peeking up from the bottom. There's not much room for him, so we're just going to do a little, just like the top of his square. So just kind of peeking out. While our orange is still wet, I'm still with my little brush. I'm going to add some red just to get fancy and some shading if you have some red with you. So with the red, I'm just going to add to the top and the bottom of my little smiley face. I'm just going to do a few strokes. I'm just pulling it in, pull, pull, pull. So if you don't have it, it's not that big of a deal. We're just getting fancy. So I'm going to do it on the top end and the bottom end. So a little bit of red. Then on this rectangle, I'm just going to put it in coming from the left side. I'm going to make a little line on the top left of my rectangle and then flick, flick, flick down into my orange. Then we're going to move to our circle and our square. So same thing on the left side of each one. Just going to add a little bit of red. And then a little bit of red on either end of both of our smiley faces over here. Kind of frowny face, I guess, over there. So we just got fancy. So we added red on either end of our scoops, 1, 2, 3, and then we just did on the left side of our rectangle, circle, and square. All right, so now I'm going to clean my brush. I'm still with my little guy, and I'm going to make a very light gray, very light gray. So that means a smidge of black. That black is so strong, so you just want a smidge. And we're going to fill in this little section underneath this line. So between the body and this line, we're going to fill in with this gray. So it's going to add kind of like a shading going on. So I'm going to start along this line. And start filling it in. And so for some of you that are a little more advanced and want to get a little more fancy, you can have it gradually get lighter as it gets towards the body. So you could just add some white near the body and blend it into your gray. So it's going to be a gradual difference in your gray. But if not, the gray is cool by itself. Still works. Just for our fancy folks. Okay, then we're going to add some gray just on this top part right here, starting from the bottom of our orange, and we're going to just bring it all the way around our circle. So it's only going to go in just a little bit into our circle, this gray, light, light, light gray. So it's adding just a cool shading to it, helping it look a little three-dimensional. We're not getting too crazy, but so it's just a little bit around, starting from our orange, and I brought it around down to the bottom. And then the last bit of gray is just going to be on this right side of his head, this bottom part, from the orange, the bottom of his orange, just down to the base. So I'm just pulling in just a little bit, that light gray. Okay, so we are going to move on. We're going to go back to our mountains. So with our big brush, and if you're having a problem with your bigger flat brush with controlling it, you can do it with your smaller one. It's just part of this blending. It's actually a little bit easier with the bigger one, but it's really up to you, and it depends on if you have a really smaller canvas, it may be easier to use your smaller brush. All right, so we're gonna make a lighter tone. So that color that we used for our mountain, now we're just gonna add some white to that. So remember that mountain color was white and brown and orange. So I'm adding just a little bit of a lighter color. And now what we're going to do is along this left side, this left diagonal, I'm going to just outline just that part, okay? And then I'm going to just start flicking it down at a diagonal, just like this. Boom, 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 boom. And if you want, you could get fancier and go a little bit longer and add more of a mountain range to it. Cool, right? So you could go longer in spots, you could go shorter. It's up to you, but it gives that illusion that there are that reflection of the mountains with the sun hitting it and everything else. So I'm going to do that for all of my mountains. I'm going to do that lighter tone, go along the left side, and then I'm just going to flick, 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 and just bring it down. So you want to still leave some of that darker tone so you see the difference. Oh. And don't forget these guys over here peeking out. So you could also add another layer of mountains down here. So for example, if I want to add some shorter mountains in front, I'm just going to do my little diagonal line, pretend that they're right here, and then just flick, 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 flick. So you could add a bunch of different layers going on if you want to just make it so interesting and have a lot more instead of just the tall guys. You could have some curved ones. I'm gonna make this guy a little bit more curved. And then this guy. Just however many you want. We are going to our small brush. Remember, when you use black, you want, especially, you want to be really light to the touch, so lightly touch your canvas. We could always make it bigger. It's harder to give smaller. So the first thing we need to do is put in that big old circle right here in the middle. So the circle is actually going to overlap your orange. So the top of the circle is going to be right here in the middle top of your orange. You want to make a dot there so you know where it is. Just right here. Boom. And then we're going to just make a nice circle. You could start small, make it bigger later. So I'm just kind of lightly putting it in, going around and around. So when you keep on going around and around without stopping, it helps to kind of correct it for you. So with this part of BB-8, it's totally cool if you have a much bigger circle or smaller circle. It doesn't really matter. I've seen it a couple different ways and it looks good. So then you're going to go ahead and fill that guy in. So it's all black. We got our black dot starting right at the middle top of his orange, and really however big you want to put it in. Okay, then I'm going to go directly above it, right to the top of his head, and I'm going to make his little antennas. So there's going to be a line just going directly out. You don't want to go too far, maybe about, I don't know, 2.5 inches, something like that. And then another guy just to the left of it that is shorter. So you can give it a little bit of a space and then a shorter line. So 1, 2. All right, so we're going to go to our rectangle and we're going to do parallel to this left line of the rectangle. I'm going to do 2 lines pretty close. So 1, 2, so near the top. 1, 2. Okay. And then just a little bit up from the bottom of that rectangle, I'm going to do another one. So you have 3 lines, 2 together, space, another one. Okay. Then we're going to do another line right next to our square. I'm going to give it a little space. It's going to be a little higher, just like that. So a little space up from our square, and we put in our black line. Okay, now we're going to go to his body. So right inside this little section right here on the top, not touching these guys, but connecting, right? So I'm going to leave a little space, I'm going to make a little frowny face. Just like that. Right in between. So I'm not touching them, but it's kind of connecting them, right? I'm going to do the same thing on this bottom one. So I'm going to give a little space. Right down there. And then right up here, right in his top middle, I'm going to come in just a little bit and I'm going to do a parallel curve to my curve, right? So I'm just going to do a little, I'm not going to go all the way, I'm just going to do a little bit, little curve, and then I'm going to do 1 dot on the bottom, another dot on the top, so I left a little space. Okay, so I went in just a little bit, curve, dot, and dot with little space. Okay, so now you have to outline. So we're going to outline our whole BB-8. We're outlining all of our orange and we're outlining the outside and the neck. So little brush with black, good luck. Now remember, it's easy if you, or easier if you lean your pinky on your canvas. Now this bottom connecting part of the neck, I'm just going to thicken up just a little bit. So I'm going to go in and just make it just a little bit thicker, just to make the illusion that it's just a little bit more shaded over there. So just a little bit on this right bottom part of the neck. All right, so now we're going to put in our two moons. So the first one we're going to put in is with our light yellow. So a little bit of yellow, a little bit of white. And this one is going to come in about a quarter of the way from the right side and then just about an eighth of the way down. And I'm going to put in my moon. So you can make it bigger if you want. Mine's just going to be about the size of a quarter on mine. But if you have a small, I got a big canvas, so maybe on yours it'd be like a nickel. Up to you. So this is yellow and white mixed. All right, then the other one that's just diagonal down to the right from it is the same mixture, but now I'm adding orange to it. So it's going to be a slight diagonal down to the right. I'm going to do another guy. This guy is going to be just a little smaller. So this one was yellow and white mixed, and then this one was added with orange. All right, you guys, we're almost at the end. Okay, so little brush, clean it. We're just going to use some white. I'm just going to make a little highlight on these little antennas. So I'm just doing a little few wisps of white on it. So it's not a solid line. I just pulled a little bit of white through it. Bring it closer so you could see. So it's not solid. I just choop, 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 just a few strokes. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to my black circle right in the middle. And I'm going to take my white. I'm going to make another little guy circle right here in the upper left side. So just a little white circle right there. And that is BB8. That's it. BB8 definitely got some love and attention today. Please post on Instagram and Facebook. I'd love to see your masterpieces and tag us, Splash Art Class, hashtag Splash Art Class, @Splash Art Class. Remember to clean your brushes. Have an amazing, amazing day. Keep